You know that feeling when everything seems fine, yet something in your gut tells you otherwise. Like the air around you feels heavier. I never believed in stuff like that until it happened to me. It was the summer of 2003, and I had just moved back to my small hometown after years away at college. I had no big plans for my life, just taking it one day at a time. I had no reason to be worried about anything. But that's the thing with these kinds of stories, isn't it? You never see it coming. The town was quiet, as usual, and everyone knew each other's business. The gossip mill had it that Old Man Miller's house, the abandoned one on Ridge Street, was finally sold. As a kid, we all stayed away from that place. Something about it always felt wrong. No one had lived there for years, and some kids swore they'd seen shadows moving in the windows when the house was supposed to be empty. Of course, we all laughed it off. Kids make up things, right? I didn't pay it much attention until the night I walked past it on my way home from a friend's place. The first time I noticed it, I was heading home late. The moonlight reflected off the windows of the house, giving it an eerie glow. I had walked that route countless times, but that night, I swear it was like the house was looking at me. The windows were dark, but it felt like something was just watching. I shook off the feeling and hurried past, convincing myself it was just my overactive imagination. I mean, houses can't watch people. Or so I thought. A week later, while passing by the house again, I noticed something different. One of the upstairs windows was open. A curtain was fluttering in the breeze, and I could have sworn I saw someone standing there, staring down at me. I stopped in my tracks, squinting to get a better look. But as soon as I focused, the figure moved away from the window, disappearing into the darkness. I told myself it must be the new owners getting settled in. But deep down, something about it felt wrong. That house had been empty for years. No one in town had seen a moving truck, and nobody had mentioned meeting the new residents. I chalked it up to the late hour and decided not to linger. The following nights became strange. Each time I walked by, there were more subtle changes. The curtains were sometimes drawn, other times they were wide open, as if someone was inviting me to look inside. One night, I heard faint whispers, like a distant conversation, but no one was ever there. Not that I could see, anyway. The tension built slowly. Each night, I would quicken my pace as I neared the house. There was always something new, an open door, a flickering light, shadows shifting inside the windows, but never any sign of who or what was inside. And then, things started happening inside my own home. At first, it was small things. Keys not where I left them, a chair pulled out from the table when I was sure I had pushed it in. But soon I began waking up in the middle of the night, heart pounding in my chest, feeling like someone had been in my room. The air felt thick, like it was pressing down on me, and always that strange feeling like I was being watched. I tried to brush it off, but one night things escalated. I woke up to the sound of my bedroom door creaking open, slowly. My breath caught in my throat as I lay frozen in bed. I could hear soft footsteps on the hardwood floor, inching closer and closer and closer and closer. My eyes strained in the darkness, searching for movement, but there was nothing, just the sound of those steps getting nearer. I fumbled for the lamp on my nightstand, desperate to flood the room with light, but before I could reach it, footsteps stopped, right by my bed. I could feel it there, just inches away, but I couldn't see a thing. My hand hovered over the lamp's switch, trembling. And then I heard it. A whisper, close to my ear. "Come back." My heart nearly stopped. I jolted upright and flicked on the light, but there was nothing. Just an empty room. My door was wide open, though I knew I had locked it before going to bed. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. I started avoiding walking past the house on Ridge Street. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever was in that house had followed me. But even staying away didn't help. The whispers came more frequently, always when I was on the edge of sleep. "Come back." Sometimes they were faint, like they were coming from another room. Other times, they were right beside me, as if someone was leaning over my bed, speaking directly into my ear. I confided in a few friends, but they thought I was just stressed. No one took me seriously, and honestly, I began doubting my own sanity. I started spending more time out of the house, hoping that the distance would help, but the feeling never left. Then, one night, I made the mistake of returning to Ridge Street. It was a warm evening, and I had been out for a walk, trying to clear my head. Without thinking, I found myself standing in front of the old house again. The air was still, and everything was unnervingly quiet. That window, the one where I had seen the figure, was wide open, but this time, the curtains weren't moving. They hung still, like they were frozen in time. I don't know why, but I felt compelled to move closer. My heart raced as I stepped off the sidewalk and approached the front gate. The closer I got, the more my body screamed at me to turn around and leave, but I couldn't. It was like something was pulling me toward the house. I reached the front door, my hand trembling as I pushed it open. The hinges groaned, and a wave of cold air rushed out, chilling me to the bone. The house smelled damp and musty, like it hadn't been touched in years. But the lights were on, flickering slightly, casting strange shadows on the walls. I don't know what possessed me to go inside, but I did. The floorboards creaked under my feet as I made my way down the hallway. Every instinct told me to leave, but I kept walking. The house seemed larger on the inside, the shadows deeper, more oppressive. I could feel eyes on me, watching from every corner, but there was no one there. Then I heard it, the same voice, but this time it was clearer. "Come back!" It was coming from upstairs. My heart pounded in my chest as I ascended the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. The whisper grew louder with every step. When I reached the top, I saw it. The door to the room with the open window was ajar. The whisper came again, this time right from behind the door. "Come back." I pushed the door open, and what I saw made my blood run cold. The room was empty, except for an old, rotting chair in the corner. But there, standing by the window, was a figure. Its back was turned to me, its head slightly cocked to the side, as if listening. The air around it was thick, almost suffocating. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I just stood there, paralyzed with fear. The figure slowly turned its head toward me, and I saw its face. Or rather, the absence of one. Where its face should have been, there was nothing but darkness, no eyes, no mouth, just a void. It raised a hand, pointing directly at me, and then, in a voice that wasn't a whisper anymore but a low, guttural growl, it said, "You shouldn't have come back." I ran. I don't know how I made it out of that house, but I did. My legs felt like they were moving on their own, carrying me away from whatever that thing was. I didn't stop running until I was miles away, breathless and drenched in sweat. I never went near Ridge Street again. But even now, years later, I still hear the whispers sometimes. Late at night, when everything is quiet, I can hear it, faint but unmistakable. "Come back!" And I know, deep down, that one day it will find me again.